going on, everyone? So we're getting several reports that have came out that the Dallas Mavericks plan to part ways with JaVale McGee one way or another. Now, the Dallas Mavericks don't really seem to want, need, or utilize JaVale McGee. He played 42 games, started 7 of them. He only played about 8.5 minutes per game. Now, granted, JaVale McGee has never really been a guy that plays super heavy minutes, right? He's always had a lot of health issues, like asthma-wise and stuff, to where he can't play 40 minutes a game, anything like that. But any team that is going to get a JaVale McGee, they're not going to need him to do that anyway. They're going to ask him to come in and probably play 10 to 15 minutes, which that's basically what he's averaged. For his career, he's a 16 and a half game or a minute per game type player. Didn't really do much for Dallas. Nothing really to write home about. But in the 8 minutes that he played, he did average 4 points and just under 3 rebounds, 2.5 rebounds. But this is a guy that still can make an impact. He is getting older, without a doubt. He's 35 now, so that's not a ripe chicken anymore. This is somebody that is up there in age. But if the Dallas Mavericks do indeed end up waiving JaVale McGee, then there are several teams that could absolutely use the service of JaVale McGee. I mean, the Golden State Warriors could really use him. I mean, he might even start for the Warriors because they don't have a player over the size of 6'9". So they are definitely a team that could use a center. Would a team like the Phoenix Suns still want to bring in JaVale McGee, although they just signed Bol? So that is something that they might not want anymore. So that might have taken them off the table. But there are several teams that could use him, even as just like a vet locker room guy, a guy that can come in, play his role. But JaVale McGee wants to play. Right? That was one of the big issues he had with Dallas. Like, you're not playing me, you're not utilizing me, and he wants to go somewhere where he can play, where he can be utilized. And I do think in the right circumstances, JaVale McGee could be a big impact player. Not somebody huge, like I'm not expecting him, prime Dwight Howard or anything, but a guy that can go in, provide you serviceable minutes, be a floor running big, be a lob threat, guy that can grab rebounds, that can play defense, hustle, do the dirty work. Basically what JaVale McGee's built his career on, right? A guy that just is willing to put it all out there and just give you 110% in the time that he is out there. And the Los Angeles Lakers make a world of sense, right? Lakers, they want another big man. They want to kind of get back to that 2020 route. And JaVale McGee would be a cheap big, also a veteran guy that could come in and be just a locker room presence for the Lakers roster, a guy that has familiarity with LeBron and Anthony Davis, a guy that could play alongside Anthony Davis as he has in the past, a guy that can kind of sew up that third big. A guy that would understand and accept his role. Like, hey, some nights you're going to get DMP, some nights you're going to play 25, 30 minutes, especially with Anthony Davis. He's probably going to miss some games. LeBron James, he's probably going to miss some games. So those games that LeBron's out, we can shift AD to the 4. You could be the starting 5 that night, or, the first backup big that night. And yes, Christian Wood is still out there on the market. There's talks about, hey, if he doesn't get anything more than a vet minimum deal, then he is going to go and sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. So if the Lakers really do still get Christian Wood, obviously he would be the better option, the better choice. One, he's like 8 years younger, but he's also an offensive threat, a guy that can give you 17 and 8 on any given night. Defensively, he's not great, but JaVale McGee's not like, this lockdown great defensive center either. But he is serviceable enough and just a real true big and body that can, just block shots, alter shots, have some sort of an impact on the defensive end. But even if you did get Christian Wood, like let's say the Lakers sign Christian Wood, like he's more of a 4 than he is a 5. So you could still bring in JaVale McGee and still find him minutes, still play him in bunches, or just have him as like that break glass in case of emergency, right? Anthony Davis, say he misses some significant time. Well, it's all right. We got Christian Wood, we got Jackson Hayes, and we have JaVale McGee, right? So if you can have the bigs and you can have the size, because we saw this last year, right? Like that was the problem, is that the Lakers, they just didn't have the big men, right? Like even before the trade, you had Thomas Bryant, who was great offensively, but he was literally, not my opinion, literally the worst defensive center in the league. Like, that was a statistical fact. He was terrible defensively. And then on top of that, you had Damian Jones, who was unplayable. I mean, he just was completely lost out there when he did get minutes. And so he just completely fell out of the rotation. And then when the Lakers made all the trades and everything, they had Anthony Davis, and then they had Mo Bamba, who was the guy that was supposed to get significant minutes at the center spot behind Anthony Davis. And he was hurt the whole time. Like, the Lakers never really got to see him. He was hurt pretty much the entire time he was with the Lakers, including the playoffs. And so it was like, by the time he was ready to go, we were already down, 3-0 against the Denver Nuggets. And it was like, do we really want this guy who hasn't played yet trying to come in and do what? Right? And like, he has injuries. So it's like, it was a tough spot for the Lakers to be in. Well, now you got Anthony Davis. Now you have Jackson Hayes, who's 23. He's young. He's a great defensive big. He's actually a really good pick and roll defensive big. So that helps. You got a nice look there. Great lob threat. He also is really good in that like 10-foot range with those little floaters and stuff. So that is an impactful guy. If you were to get a Christian Wood or whatever, he's a guy that you could play at center. But you could primarily use him as the power forward, right? Like, that could be something that would be impactful as well. Regardless, I just think Javale McGee is a guy that makes sense to sign on a vet minimum. Now, I know some people want like Bismack Biyombo. Yes, Bismack Biyombo, he has like a ridiculous like 7'6" wingspan or something crazy like that. But he's also like 6'8", so it's like, would you rather go with a guy like JaVale McGee who gives you a true size and true center, right? It gives you a guy that can impact both sides of the floor, a guy that also has chemistry, built-in chemistry and familiarity. Like, that's important in and of itself as well. Like, to have a guy that can just come in and kind of know where he fits, know what is needed of him. And he also has a 7'6" wingspan too. So it's not like he's 7 feet with like a 7'1" wingspan. No, this is a guy that's 7 feet with a 7'6" wingspan. I just think you add in his familiarity, you add in his true size with his true length and his ability to impact the floor. He also can run the floor because the Lakers like to get out in transition, so it gives you another floor running big. He's going to understand his role. I just think JaVale McGee makes a lot of sense. Now, the Lakers, they want, based on what we heard from Rob Pelinka, they want a big that's more versatile, right? They want a big that can stretch the floor, a guy that, can do multiple things. But the only real option out there is Christian Wood, right? The only real guy that can have that kind of impact is a guy like Christian Wood. But even then, like, he's not a true center. Like, do you want to throw him at Jokic? Probably not, right? But you can throw JaVale McGee at Jokic. We did that, and we saw how that went. And he was able to hold his own. Again, you're not going to stop Jokic. You're not going to shut him down by any means. But that's not what it's about. It's about wearing him down, right? It's about throwing Anthony Davis at him. It's about throwing Jackson Hayes at him. It's about throwing JaVale McGee at him. You throw those guys. He's only one guy, and he has to face 3 or 4 different guys every single night. You keep our guys fresh, and you start wearing them down over the course of a 7-game series. Now he goes from, 30, 10, and 10 to like, 25, 8, and 8, right? And that could be the difference between you winning and losing a series. So those little things are the things. That's how we beat Denver back in 2020. It was like you threw Dwight Howard at him. And you let Dwight Howard kind of just bane him up. And then you throw JaVale McGee at him. And then you close him out with Anthony Davis. And all of a sudden, you just saw his production decline. Now, obviously, that was a different Jokic. He's gotten more advanced stuff. But still, it's still a formula that has success. And not many teams have 3, 4 bigs that you can just throw at a guy. And think of all like the centers, especially in the Western Conference. You still got guys like Steven Adams, Valanciunas. You got a lot of guys that are just sizable and big and like to bang and, back to the basket guys. You want a sizable, long center. And that's what JaVale McGee brings you. And as a veteran that has experience, that understands like kind of the ins and outs and the nuances, he's 270 pounds, so he's not just going to get like easily bullied. He's strong, he's sturdy. I like the idea of bringing in a JaVale McGee. Even if, again, at the end of the day, even if he's just like the end of the bench locker room guy, like, I don't think he's a bad guy to have, especially with a guy like Jackson Hayes, who can kind of, many people have said, like, he's our modern JaVale McGee. He's like the new JaVale McGee. Like, why not have him learn and work with JaVale, right? And our other bigs and stuff. I like the idea of bringing him in. LeBron James is going back to 23. Last time he was 23, we won an NBA championship. Let's do that. Get back to 23. Have JaVale McGee on the court for that familiarity. Let's get into that championship mindset. Let's go out and win this NBA championship. That's what I'd like to see. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you like the idea of bringing in JaVale McGee? Do you think no? Don't bring in JaVale McGee. Go, with Bismack Biyombo or Christian Wood. Or do you think, like, yeah, even if you do get a Christian Wood, you could still bring in JaVale? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments.